how bad are Joe Flacco's turnovers going to hurt the Browns? I think CJ can hang. Can Houston turn those into points? If so, this is a close game. If not, this is going to get out of hand really quick.
I think the Dolphins are going to be better on defense and the Chiefs are going to be better on offense, which seems controversial.
In the dictionary, the word Josh Allen is used as an adjective to describe turnovers. At least
that turnover was so Josh Allen-y.
Yeah, okay, good morning, afternoon, and evening. It's the guy you should believe in. Dropping heat like every season. Underdog like Willie Beeman. Classic like Dom singing. Blasting like bombs ringing.
That's Travis, or this is Travis. That's Zane. And this
Dave
is why I don't
Franco.
like crime.
All right, let's get into it.
All right, so opening week of the NFL playoffs, the NFL the scriptwriters couldn't have wrote it better. They couldn't have wrote it better. This is the best possible script for the NFL playoffs. This entire week one, per se, wild card week is the correct term. The wild card week of this playoffs is just immaculate. It's amazing.
And it's all revenge games too.
Yeah,
it's revenge
storylines.
It's all the storylines, and it's perfect because as much as we want to see, like the two best teams in the NFL arguably right now are Ravens and the Niners, but they don't have any real like storylines going on this year. So it's like it's great that they're in the playoffs
each other.
Well, right, but it's great that they're in the playoffs, but they get a bye week one, and then we have all the good story games, and then from there it builds. So
perfect.
Yeah, we got Tyreek going back to Kansas City. We have Deshaun Watson. He's not playing, but he's going back to Houston. And then we have what's the other one? Crap. Obviously the Rams, Matthew Stafford going back to Detroit, and
Mike McCarthy going back to play the Packers.
Yeah, Mike McCarthy going back to play the Packers. And then it was right before, but Baker beating the Panthers to get into the playoffs after they dropped him last year. So a lot of big stories, a lot of revenge stories going on in the NFL right now.
So let's jump into this first one. We're starting on Saturday here with the Browns-Texans game. This is the 4-5 matchup. Houston is hosting the Cleveland Browns. Joe Flacco is going to be the starting quarterback. That defense is arguably the best one in the league. On the other side of the ball, we got CJ Sippin. Nico Collins is the number one receiver. Dalton Schultz came out and had a good game in the fourth quarter last week. Their defense is still fantastic, and their run game is nowhere to be found. So for me, the question comes down to Zane and I talked a little bit about it yesterday, but what this comes down to me, in like thinking about it more and more, is how bad are Joe Flacco's turnovers going to hurt the Browns? That's what I think this comes down to. I think CJ can hang, but we've seen Joe Flacco, he throws about 2 picks a game, like on the regular. How bad can Houston turn those into points? If so, this is a close game. If not, this is going to get out of hand really quick because the Browns are going to stuff the run, and then it's just going to they're just going to demolish them.
So here's my question. Have you guys forgot about playoff Joe? Because playoff Joe's a different animal.
Is it still a thing?
We're gonna see. We're gonna see
it
because there was a video I watched, and it was a guy on the Baltimore Ravens when Joe was there, and they're like, and he was the same thing with the turnovers, right? He was questioning why they were paying Joe Flacco so much, but then once they got into the playoffs, they're like, okay, that's why they're paying him this much. Because when Joe Flacco gets in the playoffs, he turns into a different animal. A different beast, some would say.
This is true.
If that's still a thing, I think we're going to see them beat Houston. And on the other side of the ball, this could be CJ's rookie moment, as we've discussed before.
It could be. That's the scary thing for me is, is this going to be the CJ drop-off game, or is he going to rise to the occasion? He's already had, arguably, if he wins a playoff game in his rookie year, this is the best rookie season by a quarterback by far. It's not even close. Like, everyone's kind of looking at the Justin Herbert rookie season and saying, did we forget about this? And they both have been fantastic, but the separator will be here in this first game.
Arguably, he's proven himself already throughout the year, just being great. But yeah, if he gets a playoff win underneath
But I
his
mean, the
belt,
greatest rookie season ever for a quarterback is what we're talking about here.
yeah.
That's going to be the separator here.
What do you think, Trev? What do you think about Daddy Flacco taking on the young buck?
Well, here's my thing. What do you guys think? What is a better storyline? Joe Flacco coming back off
Joe
the
Flacco.
couch, or CJ winning
Let's
as a
save that for
rookie?
the bracket because I have a story with that. So let's save that for
Okay.
the bracket.
Okay.
But so what do you think of this game though?
I don't know. I just really want to see CJ light it up. I'm not gonna lie. He beat my Colts last week, so I'm a little hurt. But now I'm like,
But
you
now you
know
got to
what?
root for him. Now you
Now
got
I'm
to
gonna
root for
root
him
for
because he's
him. Now I
coming out
gotta
of the
root for him.
division. He's coming out of the division.
So, but I mean, the Browns defense is so good. But oh man, if he could light up their defense, bro, like that's what I'm saying. Like, even if he was just to win, like, who knows how they probably make it in the playoffs if they win. But for him to come out in their first playoff game and for him to go up against the best defense in the NFL, and if he just terrorizes them, like, it definitely has
Here,
to be the best rookie season, regardless of what happens further down the line. You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
here I got a little something. So it's not a debate that Cedar Stroud is a pocket passer. Correct.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They don't have a run game. Correct.
Mm-hmm.
Until I believe you said the fourth quarter, they weren't really passing it to Dalton Schultz last game. Correct.
Mm-hmm.
So we have a rookie quarterback who's a pocket passer without a run game and is underutilizing their tight end. And then we have one of the best defenses in the league with Myles Garrett on the other side of the ball. So how is CJ going to deal with the pressure of Myles Garrett? Because then it just comes down, can you stop Myles Garrett? Because if you can't stop Myles Garrett, how is CJ going to be able to perform when he doesn't have that 3 seconds plus in the pocket? Because like we said, he doesn't have that dump down to Singletary because they don't have a good running back. He's underutilizing your security blanket, which is your tight end. And Tank Dell is now out. So it seems like Nico Collins, our deep ball threat, is the only prominent. Did I use that word correctly?
Yeah.
The only
Very nice.
prominent guy that they have on the offensive side.
Yeah, that's what I think it comes down to is, can CJ do enough to make them fear? Can he utilize Dalton Schultz enough to where they fear the short game over the middle to where it opens up? You're not going to get anything crazy out of Devin Singletary. Like, you might be lucky to break off. He might be lucky to break off a 20-yard run, but can you get, excuse me, can you get 3 to 4 yards out of Devin Singletary on a first or second down? Can CJ be feared enough to where you can open up a mediocre run game to where it balances everything out to where you're not having all the pressures on CJ?
I think he might have problems opening up the deep ball more than the run game, right? Because to open up the deep ball, you have to have your corners, your safeties, your linebackers fearing the yak from your other guys when you make that quick dump and then they run for 8+ yards, right? That's what opens it up, is when they start fearing that and they start playing a little bit closer to try and get them as soon as they catch the ball.
Well, that's what I
If
mean.
they,
Utilizing Dalton Schultz. Can he
yeah,
utilize Dalton Schultz, and can he do enough to where they fear CJ enough to where you're playing those linebackers are a little more hesitant to.
and it just depends. Was the game plan for the teams that they played to not use Dalton Schultz because they're really good against tight ends? I don't know. I don't know the stat for that, but
Could
that
be.
could have been the case. That's the reason why Dalton fell off towards the later half of the year. And then now we're going up against a great secondary with a great defensive line. And they're going to go back to Dalton Schultz. Dalton Schultz is going to have a hell of a game, and it's going to open up that long ball for Nico Collins.
I
That's
know
also a
that it's
possibility.
I know that it's not the same defense in the Colts, but it is encouraging the fact that when CJ needs to, he does go to Dalton Schultz. It was legitimately, I think, 6 receptions in the fourth quarter for Dalton Schultz. So at a moment's notice, he can switch that on. So I wonder if you kind of get a game script that's along the lines of push the ball down the field the first drive, and then from there utilize Dalton Schultz every third drive kind of to where it's a mix up, but most of the time you're trying to push the ball down the field so you can, you can open up that run game more, and then you utilize Dalton Schultz once they collapse back down on the run game because they've figured that out,
Yeah, there was
Oh.
a little bit of incentive based
Sure, but
decision making.
at the same time, fourth quarter, like that game was mildly tight, so he found his security blanket. Pause. Like he found his security blanket. So I don't. So what are you guys' picks here?
I'm gonna
Yeah.
go Texans because I want the Texans. But let me make a point real quick
Yeah, go.
for the Browns and also one for the Texans. For the Browns, something that CJ said this week is that his playbook at the Houston Texans has been easier than his playbook at Ohio State, which you're like, oh, cool. So he's like really cooking. But what I think that means is that they haven't opened the playbook all the way for him. He's not running everything yet. They're keeping it really simple for him his first year, which is totally fine. That's what you should do with a rookie quarterback, and that's why he's been so successful. But when you minimize the playbook into something that's condensed and really simple, it's easier to figure out. And so I think when you have a defense like the Browns, who's obviously really like a veteran defense, very smart, very talented, they might be able to figure them out from that.
What
However,
was you go.
however, on part of the Texans, I think CJ is just on fire right now, and I think he's just in like a groove to where he's just going, and I think it's like almost like a kind of that rookie naiveness where he doesn't know
You
what he
don't know
doesn't
what you
know.
don't know, right? Yeah.
So
Makes sense.
he's just cooking right now, and so I it's hard to bet against Joe and the Browns defense, but it's hard to bet against a dude who's just like playing football, slinging it around, not really thinking too hard, doesn't know what he's up against necessarily. So I'm gonna go Texans.
What was that word you used, Dev, for every team following the Super Bowl winner? You called it
Copycat
something.
league.
Copycat league. Yeah. So in a copycat league where everyone's trying to be the Kansas City Chiefs and get super complicated, I think we actually are going to see a revert back to what the Houston Texans are doing. Just keeping it simple, making plays, and driving down the field.
Well, but that's all you need when if you have the proper, I think part of the reason why, which is kind of counterintuitive, but I think you get overcomplicated when you're compensating. It's the same thing for the guy who's short, who has a big truck, right? You're overcompensating for something. And when you have a quarterback that can't do anything special, you have to make it look special to be all confusing so that you can actually do something. But when you have a simplified playbook and you have a quarterback that just simply is reading the field correctly and slinging the rock, it's more frustrating for a defense, and it's just easier for everybody.
With that, I'm going to go Browns though. Just my thing.
Me too. This is unfortunately where
Oh my, this is crazy, bro.
Come on,
This is-
Trav, give it to him. Trav, you know what he did to us? Give it to him. If you're going Houston,
Wow.
give it to him.
Fake
Give it to him.
fan.
Piece of garbage.
Wow, bro.
this is the moment where I jump off. I just think that I just think that the Browns have something really special going on right now, and the way that, especially with Joe Flacco coming off the couch, it is something that is it's like the guy that's been sidelined all year and then he comes back midseason and he explodes because you just haven't been playing. You're fresh. You've been winning. He's got nothing to lose. The worst case scenario is they get bounced in this first round and he is like, it's obviously not great for the Browns because they want to win a Super Bowl, but for Flacco, he's just playing with house money. He knows he's going to get a contract next year after this. So for him, it's just go out and ball, and I've got the best defense in the NFL backing me up here. I do like the Browns in this. So yeah.
He reached his destination, decided to hop
Yeah,
off the
he's
train.
train stops in Houston, baby.
Train stops in Houston. Next
Hey,
up,
it's hard to bet against a good defense. Hard to bet against a good defense.
It is. Next up, we're going to go Finns Chiefs here. Zane and I talked, we kind of previewed all these games. I think this has the makings of, this is either a blowout for the Finns or this is a super tight game that's still high scoring. It's kind of a track meet.
I agree.
And I was saying to Zane, the way the Chiefs win this game script is you come out and you punch the Finns in the mouth, and it's Isaiah Pacheco. It's a 7-minute drive, 12 plays, and 8 of them are Isaiah Pacheco A-gap blast. And you come out and you punch them in the mouth and you show them we're not afraid of you. And then you start to work the Kelsey screen game in. You start to work the Rashee Rice screen game in towards the end of the drive. You score, and then that defense comes out and has a big first stop, and you end the first quarter 10-0. That's kind of like, if the Chiefs win this game, that's got to be the game script, where it's come out and punch them in the mouth, and then your defense takes care of the rest of it.
Trevor, what do you think? Who do you think is going to win? Who do you think is going to be better on defense and or offense?
I think the Dolphins are going to be better on defense, and the Chiefs are going to be better on offense, which seems controversial. But let me explain why. Tyreek is not healthy. He hasn't been healthy for the past 2 games.
True.
Waddle is out. Is Waddle going to be back this week?
I don't know. That's the other thing too, is he's so injury prone. Like, he's one of those guys where, like, he got injured twice in the game because he missed this game because he, on a jet sweep, basically was running out of bounds.
Okay, so we're just repeating what we said yesterday. That's what you're doing right now.
I'm just saying,
sum it up. Let him get a point out.
Okay, go.
But we see what happens when it's just Tyreek out there with no Waddell. There's nothing to compliment or Waddle. There's nothing,
Waddell.
There's nothing to compliment the rest of their offense. It kind of puts it all on one guy. And the reason I think the Chiefs offense is going to be better is because not to take anything away from the Miami offense, or they're obviously talented, but I think the Chiefs, when it comes to playoff, it's all about experience, I think. Mm-hmm. And when we look at the Chiefs, I mean, that's a lot of experience, a lot of high-level experience. Tua, Jalen Waddle, Achane, all those guys are still young. So, like, there's still a lot of growing for them to do. And I also agree, like you're saying, it's going to come down to the Chiefs playing like a methodical, control the clock all game long, which I think they have the ability to do because they are a veteran team. Mm-hmm. However, the Dolphins, if they get hot, if they get some deep plays, a little momentum, I think they have a chance to put up a lot of points, maybe get a win. But because the game is in Arrowhead, I think the Chiefs are going to win the game.
Okay, so you're taking the Chiefs in this.
Isn't Achane on his 4th, 5th season?
He's a rookie.
He's a rookie.
Really?
Yes.
Yeah.
So it's Mozart who's old?
Yeah.
One of them's old.
Or Jeff Wilson. You might be thinking of Jeff Wilson.
Both Raheem Mostert and Jeff
Somebody,
Wilson
this is like their 4th team.
Both Mostert and Raheem.
All right.
Or both.
I think I'm going Miami. They've been absolute shambles, unless it is that NBA strat that I've said before, where they were just taking a back step until the playoffs. I don't think they can pull it together. Like, how can they pull it together? They've been absolute shambles this entire season. The Chiefs have. So I'm going Miami. I like what they're doing. I think they have a very interesting way that they play the offensive side of the offensive side of the game. Miami.
Here's a last point, and this is not a repeat. Tua is for good reason. Like, we know that he's very decisive. Like, he knows where he's going to go in this. He knows his first look is Tyreek, but there's almost a little bit of predetermined, I'm going to throw the ball here. And I think that's going to come back and bite him in the butt a lot in this game, especially when you have a corner in, forgive me.
L'Jarius Sneed?
Yes, L'Jarius Sneed. When you have a corner like that against Tyreek, speed-wise, it's a bad matchup. But when you have a guy that's Tyreek's nicked up, Waddle's going to be slow, Mostert is going to be – you're not going to have that run game unless Achane has one of those games where it's just ridiculousness. That's going to come back and bite him in the butt. And I think there's just a little bit too much predetermination pre-snap for Tua and where he's going to throw the ball that it's going to become a little bit predictable, and they're going to look like a one-trick pony against this defense here, especially with Tua not being a scrambling quarterback. Like, he's mobile, but he's not a scrambling quarterback. He can make stuff happen in the pocket. He's got good pocket presence, but outside of that, you're not going to extend plays, and I think that's going to come back and bite him in the butt. I'm going Chiefs here. All right. Next up, we're going to stay in the AFC, and we are going to finish up with Steelers-Bills. This is the first game on Sunday. This game is a lot closer than we think, and here's why. Josh Allen the turnovers is Josh Allen's calling card. Josh Allen and turnovers, you look up in the dictionary and his name is there, right? We know this. But
Synonyms.
the reason why it's so important in this game is because what have the Steelers been doing all year? Even when they had Matt Canada and they were winning games while being outgained, why? Because they were putting up 20 points on the board, and then about 7 minutes in the fourth quarter, they're getting that turnover and then controlling the ball from there on out. And against a Bills team, I would want anyone else in the NFL but Josh Allen with 2 minutes on the clock to go. He starts doing things he starts forcing the ball. He gets nervous with the ball in terms of ball security. We saw it week 1 against the Jets. Everything was back against the wall. He did not show up, and he has not shown up. And this is where the Bills fall apart, I think, is in the playoffs, because now it's like, okay, they're the 2 seed. Everything's coming together here. You've got a clear path to the AFC Championship. The only thing left to do is blow it. So I'm going Steelers in this game.
Yeah, I agree with you. In the dictionary, the word Josh Allen is used as an adjective to describe turnovers. I agree with you 100%. At least
That turnover was so Josh Allen-y.
that turnover is so Josh Allen-y. But like you said, that they're going to fall apart towards the end in the playoffs is when they're going to fall apart. I think that they fell apart mid-season, beginning of the season. I think they're already through falling apart. If we can get Stephon Diggs to actually just be a team player and not be a selfish player, I think they'll take this and they're going to win this game. But that's the problem, is that your number one receiver, when he doesn't get the ball thrown to him, he just starts complaining and whining. And it's such a weird thing to do, because it's like everybody's looking at you, man. Everybody's double teaming you. Like, it's not a safe throwing to Stephon. I know there was a long ball that he overthrew, but Josh Allen had pressure, right? It's not like there's these easy plays that are happening and Josh Allen is missing them. Josh Allen is missing them because he has to do so much more to just throw the ball than most quarterbacks have to do in the NFL. So I'm still going to take the Bills, but I understand where you're coming from.
I'm going to take the Bills as well. Steelers are playing without TJ Watt, which I think obviously has been kind of the glue of the defense. And so I think you take that out. I think that makes things a lot tougher for the Steelers. And I also, like you were saying, I agree. Like, some of the stuff Josh Allen has been doing has been weird. Obviously, and forces a lot of plays, commits a lot of turnovers. But I think in this last game against the Finns, which is a pretty good defense, he kind of looked like his old self a little bit more. He was kind of maybe carrying like he usually does, like, running the ball, fighting for extra yards, making a 3rd and 8 run when it mattered. And also him and Diggs were connecting on that one deep ball that, like, it was a little bit underthrown, but like Diggs caught like right here low. And so I think things are starting to come back. But I mean, even though the Steelers, I think it is closer than people think, but I also think that without TJ Watt and with Josh Allen, if he plays like he did last week, I don't think there's a chance for the Steelers.
My thing with this is, as great as it is, yes, that the Bills won, I also don't love, like, on the same token that the Finns lost, they lost without all their guys, and it was that close of a game, and this is your 2 seed. This is arguably the second, tied for second or fourth. They're in the top 4 for what should be a Super Bowl champion, and they got a narrow win against the Finns, who are missing two of their most important guys and one of their best guys is nicked up. That doesn't feel great to me. And I do love the Bills. They've had some good wins to end out the year, and they're coming into the postseason in the right way. The limelight is just bright ever since that drive in, what was it, OT? I don't remember the year, against Patrick Mahomes. It just hasn't been the same, and I don't think it's going to be the same ever for Josh Allen. I think he's going to be that quarterback that always makes the playoffs and never finishes.
I think it's a team thing. I think what's very important when going into the playoffs is you play as a team. And I think the Bills don't play as a team. But that's an easy fix, right? That's not a hard fix to happen. You just have to get your selfish players to just like, hey, we lose and we're out for this season, right? Just put your ego to the side for one game and then we'll talk about it next week.
Well, but that's the thing, though. It's easy, but it's also the hardest thing ever. It's an easy thing to say, but it's hard for those players to do.
True.
But I think for those dudes in Buffalo, like, I mean, who knows what's really going on? But from what it looks like from the outside is that they're not close. But they used to be like, everybody was like super tight.
Yeah.
And I think after a game like last week where they were away, everyone's counting them out, expecting to probably get, hung 40 points on by the Finns. And they come out and they put like they look like they were fighting. Like Josh Allen looked like he always does. Like I give credit to him, but he's like fighting to win the game. And
Yeah,
so I think when you
what was it,
see
third down
that,
run?
yeah, I think when you see that, especially as a team, when your quarterback's doing that and he's putting stuff on the line, he's maybe talking a little bit and pulling guys off, but really getting into the game and being there for his guys, like that's major. I think that's huge. Going into this game.
The other thing
you go, Dev.
Yeah, the other thing I think about this game that we're not thinking about also is the health of Gabe Davis. They get an extra 2 days, being that this is the first game on Sunday. And I know you're smiling right now, Zane, but we know that Gabe Davis can be either just he blocks the whole game or he goes off for 2 touchdowns and 115.
Mm-hmm.
So like that, if he isn't healthy, even if he's on the field, but he's 50%, that takes away from the ability to pull guys off of Stephon Diggs and spread the field more. So I think that's another underrated thing that's not in full consideration here.
Last point I want to make is we'll talk about like their camaraderie and how they don't feel like they're close. It's such a weird scenario because it's usually like quarterback is, yes, he's making mistakes, but I mean, Dev, do you still have the stats for against the Dolphins? Could you read off the stats for me?
Yeah, one sec.
For Josh Allen, just Josh Allen.
Yeah, let me pull him up. So Josh Allen went for 30 for 38. 30 for 38, 359, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions.
Right. So that stat line, except for the interceptions, but he has those turnovers literally every game. That stat line is an incredible stat line. It's so weird that they're not close and they're falling apart when you have a QB who, I've said this so many times, but it's so true, literally puts the team on his back, and he seems like the only one on the field who's trying to win a football game. Game after game, he's going out there putting up stats like that. And then against the Cowboys, he didn't even score. He had 1 touchdown. He let James Cook do everything for him. Like this man, I don't understand how there's turmoil in the Bills right now when you have a QB who is playing his ass off just to get you guys some wins. I don't understand.
Yeah.
Let's move on.
With the downfall of Gabe Davis, just this last little point, with the downfall of Gabe Davis, you have been having Khalil Shakir coming along. He had 6 receptions for 105 against the Dolphins.